Picture this, a barrel nearly a meter long, packed with devastating power, capable of punching straight through tank armor. This is the Ukrainian Azov sniper rifle, nicknamed the Alligator, and it's rapidly becoming a nightmare for enemy forces on the battlefield. We're talking about a weapon so powerful that with just one shot, it can neutralize not only soldiers, but even heavily armored vehicles. A convoy of Ukrainian Azov troops arrives at the location to reconnoiter Russian motorized vehicles. The Russian motorcyclists had carefully planned their routes to avoid being easily tracked by Ukrainian Azov units. But here's the thing. They made one critical miscalculation. You simply cannot hide from Ukrainian Azov drones. The Azov troops quickly tracked the Russian motorcyclists' movements with impressive efficiency and transmitted the intelligence to the sniper crews guarding their formation, positioned hundreds of meters away and breaking through toward the Russian hideout. This is coordinated warfare at its finest. 2 Russian motorcyclists remained under constant surveillance. The Azov forces allowed them to reach the exact point where they'd planned to disable them. Tactical patience in action. The drone unit communicated with the sniper in real time, informing him that the Russian motorcycle squadron was approaching their locked-down position. The Russians were aware of the drone's presence, but awareness alone couldn't save them. Then the Ukrainian Azov snipers launched their attack. Snipers from different locations had all received precise information on the Russian motorcycles. After the first motorcycle was disabled by the Azov unit some distance away, the Russians had been on alert all night. But now, they were walking straight into the trap. After several Russian motorcyclists were disabled, the troops tasked with close-range attacks entered the hideout with determination. They had been building this hideout for quite some time, with a clear strategic goal: secure their territory and retake areas previously controlled by the enemy. The troops guarding this position were no ordinary unit. They were the highly trained Ukrainian Azov forces, equipped with snipers possessing extremely precise aim. The Ukrainian Azov troops surrounded the enemy hideout and ambushed them with remarkable boldness. Having previously monitored the area via drones, they continued to shrink the enemy's territory, effectively locking them in. When the Azov troops felt completely secure, they returned to their hideout for the next phase. The Ukrainian Azov drone troop unit operates from hiding, checking the area not far from their position. The operator flies several FPV drones with skill and precision. Their goal is simple but absolutely vital: monitoring an area that looks empty but can turn into hell at any moment. Ukrainian Azov drones destroyed a motorcycle used by Russian troops as it entered their controlled territory. The Russians simply covered the motorcycle with a sheet, hoping it wouldn't be seen by the Azov troops or their drones. It didn't work. I'm only showing a few motorcycles destroyed by Azov drones here. Many vehicles have been destroyed by Azov troops before. The numbers are genuinely impressive. On the volatile Kharkiv front line, operators of the 8th Regiment of the Ukrainian Special Operations Forces once again demonstrated why they're considered one of the most precise units in modern combat. Their reputation is earned through consistent excellence. During a close-range reconnaissance operation, this elite team detected enemy troop movements hidden inside one of the multi-story buildings previously used as a defensive point. Once intelligence and tactical sensor imagery confirmed the presence of enemy troop concentrations, the scale of the threat became clear. The situation was serious. Vastly superior enemy forces, coupled with prepared firing positions. They'd sealed off entry corridors, exploited narrow spaces, and established a lethal perimeter, a trap for anyone who forced their way in. But here's what separates elite forces from ordinary troops. The SOF's strength lies not only in courage, but in their ability to read the situation in a split second. With extreme combat discipline, they made a swift assessment. The numerical ratio was unfavorable. The enemy had established a kill zone. Any aggressive move could lead to unnecessary losses. The decision? A complete tactical withdrawal, leaving no personnel or equipment behind. The operators obscured their tracks, broke the firefight, and moved positions before the enemy realized their maneuver. This is tactical brilliance. Knowing when not to fight is sometimes as important as knowing how to fight. The Dnipro River has once again become the scene of tense conflict. The Russian military has released combat footage that shows how quickly conditions can shift from calm to chaos in seconds. This footage is eye-opening. In the footage, a Russian patrol boat is traversing a calm river. The water is reflective, seemingly devoid of any threat. But the calm is absolutely an illusion. Without warning, a Ukrainian drone enters the camera frame, gliding low and precise like a predator locking onto its prey. The Ukrainian drone operator had clearly been observing the boat's movements from afar, waiting for the moment when it was most vulnerable, right in the middle of the river. The Russian boat's crew can be seen attempting evasive maneuvers as the drone's shadow approaches, but the speed of the FPV makes their reactions a fraction too late. Small explosions break the water's surface, destabilizing the boat and forcing the crew to scramble for cover. What makes this footage even more dramatic is that river battles aren't typical scenarios. The Dnipro River, once a natural dividing line, has now become a technological dueling arena. Patrol boat versus attack drone, sensors versus silence, man versus machine. River. Attacks like this demonstrate something much bigger. The modern battle space is no longer limited to land and air, but now includes waterways previously considered safe from close-range drone operations. This footage proves the Dnipro is no longer just a waterway. Small boats can become significant targets, and FPV drones continue to change how both sides fight. This battle wasn't just about a single ship being attacked. It's about how technology, speed, and situational preparedness now determine life and death on the front lines. When we look at the entire sequence, from the Ukrainian Azov's stealthy operations in Kharkiv to the Azov drone unit operating from cover to the surprise attack on Russian ships in the Dnipro River, one big picture becomes crystal clear. The war in Ukraine has entered a new phase, one in which precision, technological mastery, and the ability to read the situation are far more crucial than troop numbers or weapon size. This is 21st century warfare. In Kharkiv, operators of the 8th Ukrainian Azov Regiment demonstrated that success isn't always determined by pulling the trigger, but by making the right tactical decisions at crucial moments. Despite facing a superior enemy with an advantageous firing position, they broke contact without losing a single man. A clear example of how modern warfare requires brains as sharp as survival instincts. Meanwhile, the Azov drone unit demonstrates another side of 21st century warfare. Operations in stealth, psychologically stressful and dependent on detailed information scanned from the skies. From their undetected hiding places, Azov operators fly FPV drones to survey areas very close to their positions, a seemingly simple but crucial task. At such close range, a single blind spot could reveal their location and turn the battle into disaster. Then our attention shifts to the Dnipro River, where Russian military footage shows their patrol boats being targeted by Ukrainian attack drones. The scene highlights that even rivers, once natural dividing lines, have become high-tech battlefields where humans, machines, sensors, and reflexes compete in deadly duels. The attack on Russian ships demonstrates that there are no safe zones anymore. Seas, rivers, grasslands, even city ruins, all are now within range of FPV drones, whizzing by like guided missiles. In defense industry analysis, one frequently noted development is how countries increase production capacity when facing protracted conflicts. One striking example discussed by experts is Russia's plan to produce up to 120,000 glide bombs a year, a figure demonstrating how weapons technology increasingly focuses on efficiency and volume. Glide bombs are relatively simple weapons, but highly effective because they can be released remotely, gliding toward targets without requiring the firing aircraft to approach the danger zone. A Ukrainian intelligence report stated that, of the total production, approximately 500 units were long-range, versions capable of reaching wider areas than previous models. For defense researchers, data like this is interesting, not only because of production figures, but because it illustrates the direction of weapons modernization. Major powers now tend to develop weapons with lower production costs that can be deployed in large numbers and utilize simple aerodynamic principles to increase range. Since the outbreak of large-scale conflict in 2022, Russia has significantly increased its defense industry capacity. Many production facilities now operate on a 24-hour basis, a common practice when a country prioritizes military supply chain stability. Interestingly, Russia doesn't publicly release details of its military production. This information is classified, also common practice among many countries since weapons production data falls under sensitive strategic information. For international analysts, this secrecy requires estimation based on field observations, satellite imagery, and reports from various official and independent sources. Overall, discussions of Russian glide bomb production are geared toward understanding how the country is modernizing its defense industry rather than providing political or military assessments. From an educational perspective, this demonstrates that weapons technology is moving toward more affordable and massive solutions. The defense industry is becoming a strategic factor in long-term conflicts, and military production data is often part of broader analysis of a country's logistical capabilities. Understanding these patterns allows readers to see how defense industry dynamics operate globally, that modernization, automation, and production capacity play roles as important as battlefield strategy in international security studies. There's one important principle that often forms the basis of planning. Major powers don't always use their full military might when faced with tensions. This isn't about capability, but about managing risk to prevent conflicts from escalating into something more dangerous. Europe and NATO, for example, prefer a phased approach when dealing with sensitive situations in the eastern region. Member states that don't directly border Russia typically don't engage in ground combat. Even if they must respond to threats, their measures often take the form of indirect actions like maritime surveillance, protecting energy routes, or enhancing cybersecurity. In various academic forums and expert analyses, situations like attacks on tankers or sabotage of undersea cables are often used as hypothetical examples to explain how modern conflicts can affect critical infrastructure. These aren't predictions, threats, or incentives to action, but academic examples that help understand how energy and communication routes can become targets or vulnerable points in tense situations. On the other hand, when officials like Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Alexander Grushko suggest that NATO is preparing for certain scenarios, for example, a possible blockade or increased military presence in the Baltic region, it's usually discussed by researchers as part of a war of opinions and threat perceptions. Such statements help understand how international actors assess the security of strategic regions like Kaliningrad or the Baltic corridor. Discussions about whether confrontation will remain at the level of conventional weapons or could escalate to a more serious level often arise in strategic studies. This topic isn't intended to scaremonger, but to demonstrate the importance of limits on escalation. Any country, including great powers, calculates very carefully before taking actions that could escalate the situation. For this reason, analysts emphasize that the use of extreme weapons like nuclear weapons is at the very end of all considerations. This discussion helps explain why countries prefer controllable options like diplomacy, opening communication lines, or increasing regional security before considering extreme solutions that no one wants. Ultimately, all these examples and statements paint a coherent picture of how security dynamics in Europe work. That tensions don't always lead to major wars, that many non-military options are available, and that regional stability depends heavily on risk management, not just military power. This is how modern conflicts should be viewed in an educational context, as complex, deliberate systems constantly under expert scrutiny to prevent unnecessary escalation.
Потерял ее. Вон она. Вон выход.
Опа. Давай, пішов перший.